Hi, guys. This is the Work Your Money podcast with host Michelle Wong. I am back right here in Philadelphia. Look at little Rocky over here. Love being here and looking at this. And I have a great guest, Joe Homan. Hi, Joe.
Hi, Michelle.
Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you very much.
And let's get started. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Joe Homan. I live in the near suburbs of Philadelphia. I've lived here about 30 years. Prior to that, I was a native of Michigan, right outside Detroit. And I went to school out there for my undergrad, and then I came back to Penn State for my graduate degree. I have a wife and 2 kids that go to school down in Florida, so it's a lot warmer there than it is here right now.
You gotta tell me about
And
it.
I'm just happy to be here. I thank you very much for having me on your show.
Oh, I love having you on the show. We had a little bit of conversation before starting to record, and Joe likes to be very humorous, and we also had a little bit of a discussion, just life experiences and also his goals as well for this coming year, which is very interesting, and we're going to be sharing that in a little bit. But before we do, you mentioned Michigan.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, because I know a few other people that are from Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
It is way colder there.
It is way colder there, I will say that. However, there's a couple differences with Michigan and the cold. One difference is that everybody seems to do things outside. So the cold, it's just a natural extension of the year. Whereas I find I consider myself a Philadelphian now, we kind of hibernate in the winter. In Michigan, people go outside, they ice skate, they cross-country ski, they'll walk the dogs outside. They're equipped for it. One other thing with regards to Michigan is the roads are equipped for it. These roads that we have around here and that you have up where you live and my brother and his husband live, they were equipped for horse and buggy. The roads in Michigan, they're equipped for cars and they know how to clean them off. So It's easy to get around. You're not trapped if it snows.
Well, over there is not so congested, I guess, traffic-wise as it is here, right?
It's true.
Yeah.
They have a wider roads, bigger infrastructure with regards to cars.
Well, that's a great thing about living in areas that are, I would say, less congested than it is living in the city or the metropolitan area. Even in New York City, it's the same thing. The traffic is horrible at times, and just the roads, a lot of potholes. I think the last time that we were here, there was a situation where the person that was the co-host at the time, I think the night before, she hit a pothole.
Ooh.
And the tire had a little crack on the inside. I guess the way it's designed, it's a German car,
Sure.
and it caused that, and then we had to go to the dealership, and we were there for a couple of hours. So, and that was due to a pothole. I said, yeah, well, that's how it is. And I guess, like Connecticut, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, that tends to happen. But in other areas in the Midwest or, it's, I guess the traffic there and the flow of the road is much easier.
Yes. Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely.
So now that we got a little bit more acquainted on that, I know that you're a jack of all trades. You have a lot of things going on. So I want you to fill in all of the things that you do, because it's so, my God, it's so fascinating.
Thank you. So I'm the president and CEO of EdSpire Incorporated. So EdSpire is a life sciences consulting company, and we want to be the next right thing in life sciences. And what that means is we do pharmaceutical operations consulting. So anywhere from business development through R&D, through manufacturing, and even into supply chain, we want to help folks do pharmaceuticals better. Part of that is we're launching this year. We have 3 key initiatives this year. One is we're building a standalone product. So we're in the in the throes of building that right now. We'll release that in the middle of February. The other is we're launching into pharmaceutical marketing. So folks that know me might ask, Joe, what do you know about pharmaceutical marketing? I know that there is a need for affordable pharmaceutical marketing within the industry, and we're partnering with an excellent firm to do that. And then the last is we're building a cadre of experts, and we want to be experts that deliver excellence. So that's the company. We've been around for 2 years. We've done pretty well. When you look at the numbers, we've doubled our revenue every year, year on year, and we're hoping that 2018 is no different.
Wow. Well, I definitely agree that there should be more of assistance in the pharmaceutical realm, because I think that the prices for medication overall is just ridiculous, and it should be affordable. And I think it was just not well, I think in the past year or so there was one major CEO that got into hot water because he was overcharging with the medication.
Yes.
And that's unfortunate. It
is unfortunate.
And, there's so many people out there that are dealing with cancer and diseases or anything chronic like that, and the prices are just, they can't afford it, and that's a shame.
So that there is instances of that. There's also instances where companies from a philanthropic nature have put together programs so that folks can afford the medicine, so that the medicine, as one of the famous founders of a pharmaceutical company said, can get to the people. So that's nice too. I mean, the industry understands that there's a concern with price, and the other thing that folks need to understand is there's development of novel compounds and pharmaceuticals, and sometimes they don't work. So there's that cost of R&D that you're trying to put together a product that does work. To get a pharmaceutical product to market is very, very, very expensive. So you weigh all those that didn't work along with the one that did work, and you're trying to get it to market. You've spent a lot of money up front. So they're trying also to recoup some of that money. But I agree with you in that everybody in the industry needs to be concerned with price and sensitive to that.
So yeah, so basically there's, I guess, a happy medium between the two.
Absolutely.
Regarding the being able to sell the pharmaceutical products, but also the marketing. So yeah, I see what you're saying in regards to that, which it's understandable.
Sure.
The other thing that you also have in as well is that you also wrote a book.
Yes, I did.
That's
yeah,
very impressive.
It was a dream of mine to write a book.
It's very impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, I wrote the book Do, Move, and Communicate. It's on Amazon, Kindle. It's out there. It's in hard copy also. And what it is, it's a conflagration. It's a bringing together of my military experience. I was in the United States Army for 12 years. It's my corporate experience. I've been in corporate situations for 25 years and gained a lot of experience there also, overlaid with operational excellence, or a methodology of helping to streamline an operation. So it's my military experience, my corporate experience, my Lean and Six Sigma experience, all brought together in a book to help leaders lead teams. And that's called Do, Move, and Communicate. We're really happy that we were able to publish it. We published it in January of 2017. I have 2 more books that are already written. One's professionally edited. We're just waiting to release them at the right time.
Wow. So you're really grinding. No, and I give that a lot of respect to anyone that is on their hustle. And regarding this book, you mentioned a few things, and people don't realize that. I've noticed that people that are in the military background are great business leaders.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
And the reason being is because you're trained structure, you're trained to be organized and be focused, and that those are the things that you can implement in business, and people don't realize that it kind of goes hand in hand. And the people that I've interviewed in the past that have a military background have been very successful in business, so I see that correlation there.
Yeah, there's two things, regardless of politics, and my politics have changed over the years. There's two things that the United States military does well. One is train people to do a given task, and the other is to create leaders. And they've created some really, really good leaders. I mean, they're intentional about it, creating leaders. So not always is the best individual contributor the best leader, right? You look at sports teams, and if you have a very good athlete, it may not translate into them being the best coach. You know, a decent athlete who has leadership ability, that does translate into being the best coach. So the military is very intentional about building leaders.
Discipline is another thing that comes into mind. Whenever I think of military, I think of discipline, because you have a routine every day. You wake up early in the morning, you go through training. Once you go through training, then you go through the other forms of operation where they're teaching you specific things, and depending on where you want to go, whether if you want to be in aviation or whatever the case may be, it gives you that discipline and gives you that focus, and that definitely transpires into that business mindset, because you have to be focused and you have to be disciplined day in and day out.
Sure, absolutely.
And not many people are equipped to be in business.
No.
You know, and
especially the entrepreneurialism. I know you're an entrepreneur yourself, and people see the good times, right? It's almost like being a gambler. A gambler never tells you when they lose.
Yeah.
They only tell you when they win.
Yeah.
The same with an entrepreneur. Sure, you have to remain positive, but there's also a lot of background work that goes into being an entrepreneur, goes into leading a small company or a web TV show such as you do. I mean, there's a lot of coordination that you did with me prior to this.
Yes.
In order to get us here sitting in these seats, right?
Yes, absolutely. And that was one of the conversations that Joey and I had behind the scenes. We were just having a discussion about what it takes to be an entrepreneur, and what was the foundation of starting this podcast was based on me going to networking events, going to seminars, going to conventions, forums, whatever you want to call it, and just hearing some of the stories from those very successful people that were up on stage, but not being truthful of what really takes to be that entrepreneur that you see on stage.
Sure.
And one of the things that people have to be very honest is with the day-to-day, the struggles. It doesn't make you less of that entrepreneur. You just have to show that side of you as well, because those people that are coming in after you would have a lot of respect for you. They'll have that admiration, and they'll be inspired because they see all of the things that you had to do, the sacrifices, the time and energy that you had to put into it in order to have that end result. And believe me, I'm like the first one to share my stories. And some of them are very comical, to say the least. Yeah. But it takes a lot. It takes a lot of time, energy, determination, focus, all of that. And you're tested with the struggles and the obstacles that come into place, and you just have to learn to overcome it. That's basically the bottom line.
And that's the beauty of the puzzle, the learning to overcome it. And you said, it doesn't make you less of an entrepreneur. I actually think the struggle makes you more of an entrepreneur, because it builds that character. It's those stories that whether you're successful or you need to change what you're doing, you're going to be able to have those stories with your colleagues and folks that have taken the journey with you. And it's been a wonderful ride thus far. It's been a ride. There's ups and there's downs, and as long as I'm having fun and I'm able to take care of our clients and take care of our partners and our employees and my family, it's a ride that I'm going to stay on because it's really, really fun.
Now, in regards to your company, is it something that you solely have by yourself, or do you have other partners?
So currently, I do not have any partners. It's funny that you mentioned that because I said that we're building a novel product in 2018. That novel product's going to take money. That's one of the things that I've learned about being an entrepreneur is if you can self-fund it, great. And thus far I have. I've self-funded it and can continue to fund these things through revenue, mainly, and through loans to the company. The beautiful thing is we get to pay those loans to the company back into the personal coffers. But you talked about investors, and you talked about learning things on a regular basis. That's one of the things that we're probably going to delve into in 2018, because in order to put this product out in the excellent manner that we want to do it, it's going to take money and it's going to take time. I think the other thing that folks don't get with regards to entrepreneurialism is a lot of people know it's going to take money. They're not sure in how long it's going to take. It also takes a lot of time. Right? There's a lot of time. And unless you're willing to compress that timeline by working longer hours, then it's going to be drawn out over the calendar. So part of the book, Do, Move, and Communicate, I put in there 0.33 rule. Yeah. If I think something's going to take X amount of time, I always add 0.33 to it, or a third more time, because timelines creep, right? No matter what we want to do.
I think that is so true. One of the components when you're solely doing this by yourself, the finances that go behind it can be challenging. Yep. And sometimes you think of, should I have another partner in place, or what avenue to also have that funding? And yes, investors would be the ideal. That also means that when you're presenting it to an investor, you have to have a business plan. You have to, you just have to have all your I's dotted and your T's crossed, because they're not going to give you money just because they know you, or you have to show that why it's going to work and what would be the potential revenue and what they will receive on their end if they invest in it. So that's one component of it. And then if you have if you have a partner, that's another thing that can be challenging, because the expenses and the time and the energy, you might be all for it, and the other person may not feel the same way, or you're not on the same page. So that can be challenging. Agreed. And believe me, I've not just through interviews from other people, but I myself have had my share of experiences where it's like we're not on the same page. It's like, oh, I'm all in, but the moment that it comes down to the wire, they're not in agreement with you. So it becomes very challenging, and then you have to start all over again and do that. But
by definition, you can't both be at the same place, right?
Yeah.
Somebody's here, somebody's here. The other thing that you spoke about that I thought was great is the clarity, right? You can run your own business and have it not be crystal clear. The thing is, when you're going for money from somebody, 99 times out of 100, they're going to want it to be crystal clear how they're going to get their money back, what the revenue is going to be, what the projections are. And that 1% of the time, I'd be worried that they were going to give me money if I wasn't totally clear with how they're going to get it back, because why would they do that, right?
Exactly right. Exactly right. And this pertains to any business.
Sure.
And real estate is the same thing. When you have investors in place and you're presenting something to them, whatever project it is, you have to show them everything, a business plan. It has to be very concise, because they're not going to just hand it over to you,
Right.
unless they're a really close family or friend. That's not the case. And sometimes
Very
I've
true.
seen situations become very hairy after that.
Yes.
But yeah, you have to be very clear cut when it comes to that. Partnerships, the same thing. You have to have a happy medium between the two. One might have reservations, the other one is all for it. So you have to be on the same page. When it comes to partnerships, in the past I've had mixed emotions, where some people feel that it should be someone that is not so close as friends, and it's more someone that is more of an acquaintance, that they have the same objectives as you do.
A business acquaintance.
Yes.
Sure.
More so. And then on the flip side, it's working with a good friend or a family member would be easy for some. So it really depends on, I guess, the situation and the scenario. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And then there's the other factor where in the past I've had people that I've interviewed where it's a husband and wife team. And
yeah, you were saying that.
Yeah, and so far for those that I interviewed in the past, they've all had positive, because I guess they hold each other accountable, and the other is the support. So they don't feel like they're alone when they're going through everything. But again, that it depends. I have a business partner. His name is Willie, and one of the things that he kind of rolls his eyes and he's like, I highly think that husband and wives should work together because it becomes stressful. But it really depends on the scenario. And so far, when I've had the interviews, it's like, you see, it does work. It really depends on who it is. I guess the industry is another, the stress factor behind that.
Sure.
But it is what it is.
Sure.
Yeah. And Joe.
Yes.
One of the other things that we were discussing before we started recording were the goals that you had. It was very interesting. You had a little bit of everything, and believe me, it's just, I love the goals.
Thank
and
you.
How you had this set up, because it really shows the balance. And people don't realize that when you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, you have to have a healthy balance with everything. When it comes to recreation, apart from just working nonstop, also the relationship factor, having time for your family, that you always have to have an allotted time to just dedicate it to your family so that you don't feel burnt out.
Yes.
And there were a couple of others that I saw.
So I'll share a few if you want.
Okay.
Sure.
Cool.
The first on the top of my list is health, because if you don't have your health, you can't do anything. This past year in 2017, I turned 50. So the day before my 50th birthday, I walked 50 miles. That's 50. Quite often people think 15 miles. I walked for 14 hours and 38 minutes continuously without stopping. I actually went with an ultra marathoner. He's 28. And we did stop, for bio breaks, but I did not sit down. He sat down a couple times because he's younger than me and he's able to get up. But my health is very important to me. And one of the ways that I take care of it, I'm not going to play football, I'm not going to play rugby, I'm not going to play soccer anymore. I really enjoy walking, as evidenced by walking 50 miles in one day. I wanted to see if I could do it. It was on August 6th. I walked from Green Lane, Pennsylvania, down to Penn's Landing on the Schuylkill Trail, and then back to the Art Museum, around Philadelphia to round out the 50 miles. And if you want to check out that journey, it's at fabbeyond50.com. That's fabbeyond50.com. But I love walking. Another of my passions is dogs. So I have two rescue dogs, and Sadie and Willie. And that really plays into the walking. So we're able to take the dogs for a walk at least once a day, sometimes twice. They're high energy dogs, so they need to walk. But you talked about that. Health is on the top of the list. It's even before relationships for me. And I actually have my goals right here. They go health, relationships. The next one is art. So you talked a little bit about the balance and wanting to maintain balance. I want to maintain balance, and that's why I put some art goals in here. And I won't share what they are in case they don't come true. After that comes work, then spirituality and financial. So, yeah, I really tried to balance them out this year, Michelle, and I want to have measurable goals, and I want to be able to look at them on a regular basis. So they're in my portfolio, they're in my wallet, they're on my desk in my office. You said you also write goals, right? You have
Yes, I do.
written goals. So what are some of yours? I'm interested to hear.
Well, there were two of what you mentioned that you enjoy doing is the walking. I want to get back into walking. I love walking. And just recently in this past year, in 2017, I had a car accident. So that delayed me a little bit. I have problems with my lower back, but I try to do what I can with the walking. And that's one of the things that I miss is the walking, especially when I'm around in the city, when I'm in Manhattan.
Love it.
It just goes so quickly. You don't even realize how many blocks you walk.
Yes.
Because you're sightseeing, you see the people just passing by. And I enjoy it a lot, especially during the summer when it's nice and warm and people are out and they're doing their thing. That's the most that I enjoy it. The other you mentioned was your two dogs. I have a dog as well, and for me, having a dog is like also having a child in a sense, and they have their own personality.
Yeah.
And I have a golden retriever. He's 12 years old.
Oh, cute.
And
What's his name?
His name is Noel.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, he's a good dog on most days, but when he wants to, he can be a little brat. But he's I love my little brat. And regarding health overall, I just have to. I do eat fairly healthy, but it's also the exercise component, which has been more of a challenging factor, which I'm trying to get back on. And once the doctor tells me that I'm more fully recovered, or then I would
go for it.
Yeah, and then I would be able to do that.
She probably won't say that. She won't just say go for it, right?
No, I have to ease my way into it. I try to do little things here and there, so it's been a little bit of a challenge. Sometimes I do get frustrated with that, to be very candid and very honest. Relationship factors. I'm not married, so I don't have that issue per se. But I think that if I was married, or if I was more in a very committed relationship, obviously one of the factors would be is to dedicate time to that person, because that's one of the challenging things that I've had in the past, and I had to self-reflect in the past 2 years that when you're so consumed with building a company, building something, it takes a lot of your time, it takes a lot of your energy, and you are building it out for something better in the future. So that's time consuming. So sometimes you don't have that time factor. So one of the things I am doing, and Willie, if you're going to be watching this, and he always gives me a hard time about it, is I am going to also balance it out by socializing more, meaning going out more and engaging with people, because most of my socializing is more going to events, but they're more business related.
Yes, it's like we talked before we were filming. I consider that socializing, but that's business socializing. Yes. You're talking about going out and purely socializing.
Yes, so that's my goal for 2018 is balance it out by socializing a little bit more. That's awesome. I have a couple of really good girlfriends that they, very diverse. Some are married, some are single. and just going out and, having fun with them, having a couple of drinks and just having a good laugh. So that's one of the things that I'm working towards in that aspect of things. On a recreational part, one of the things that I loved doing when I was younger, and I kind of stopped, were two things. One was writing. I used to write a lot when I was in high school and in college, and then I kind of stopped doing that. And then, life happened, and, and the other one is painting. Not many people know that I enjoy painting.
That's awesome.
And that's one of the therapeutic things that I do. The other one is cooking. I think cooking is a little bit more. And obviously you can see.
I love to cook because I love to eat. I was the son of a mom who went to work when we were younger. And she said to my brother and I, you will have dinner ready when I get home. And don't use every dish because you're going to be doing the dishes too. So the beauty was, when I got older, I could literally go into people's fridges and put together a pretty decent pedestrian meal. So I love to cook, and mainly because I love to eat. So I agree with you.
Yeah, and that's one of the conversations that I had recently with a couple of friends of mine. I sent out a group text and I said, hey, I want to see when everybody's available so that we can have a sit down, a dinner party, and I'll cook. And they're like, you cook? I said, yeah, I do. And I can talk hours about cooking, like That's dishes great. And different recipes and things like that. And I'm always been the type that I don't follow the book per se.
Me neither.
Very innovative in anything that I do. Even this. One of the things that I get a lot is, do you have set questions and things like that? I'm like, no, I improvise. I'm just very innovative in that sense. I just kind of let it flow. So that's the same thing with cooking. I tend to do things just on a whim. Anything that I find, I just put something together and that's it.
Do you have a type? So when we go to visit my brother and his husband up in Manhattan, we go every year, and we choose a different ethnic restaurant every year. So we've had 16, 17 different ethnic cuisines. Is there a type of cuisine that you really lean towards, that you like to cook?
See, the thing is that I'm very open to anything. I've always been that way, and I think I take after my dad because he's very adventurous when it comes to food. He'll try different things, and I'm the same way. Sure. My brother and my mom are a little bit different. They're more, once they're set on one thing, right. They're very predictable. They'll continuously, and they'll never try anything new. So I'm very adventurous when it comes to food overall. So I'm very open to any types of cultural cuisine. I think that I lean towards more of the Asian component. I'm biracial, so it's like I'm Asian and Hispanic, so it's kind of like a tug of war. But I lean more towards the Asian cuisine because there's so many exotic spices and stuff behind it. So I think that if I ever go out to the city, it would be something like Japanese or Thai or Vietnamese, something in that realm, or Indian. Indian food I'm very fond of. I don't have it that often, but whenever I have the craving for it, that would be the first choice. And
it's becoming super popular. I mean, it's really popular.
Yeah. And I live in Staten Island, and it's very challenging to have a good Indian restaurant. There was this one place called the Indian Clove. They had one location in Victory Boulevard. They closed that one off, and then they moved somewhere else. I can't recall. And just recently, I went online to look because I wanted to order something, and then I found that they were closed. I said, wow, good restaurant, and they closed it. And that's challenging thing about business and the food industry. You never know when it's going to close up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and I often say to people, people say, oh, I really like that restaurant. And I'll ask them, how often do you go there? Once a year. Well, if you go there once a year, that's not going to allow the restaurant to stay open. So if we really like a restaurant, we like to frequent it because we want to support that small business owner.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't support that small business owner, that restaurant's not going to be there the next time you want to go there.
Yes,
right?
absolutely. 100%. For me, I guess the whole Indian food thing, I have it once in a while. I'll be very honest. I think I have more Japanese or Chinese food more than anything else.
Sure.
When it comes to that, but I'm open to anything else. But Indian food, I love it. I love the different spices that they put in it. They have sweet and savory and things like that. But I don't have it that often. And then just to my surprise, it closed down. But yes,
Sure.
Overall, I do feel that people in general have to support businesses.
Absolutely.
That's one of the challenging things. And the reason being is businesses are supported by good business owners that are constantly the cash flow and also connecting with the clients.
Absolutely.
Once you have that good rapport and you build that relationship with them, they're always going to come back. And that's any business. I say that all the time. Customer service is one factor that really is the big component for recurring clients. You treat them well, they'll come back to you. And they'll refer as well, because good word of mouth, those people are always going to be coming to you. So those are the important components on that.
Absolutely.
And we got a little sidetracked with the goals, but on a financial component, that one I'm not going to speak really out loud, because there are a few things that I do have in the works, and I'm just wanting to get
holding them
yeah,
close to the vest.
I'm a true believer, and I say this all the time, because I think that one of the things that people do, especially in social media, they get so eager to share what they're looking to do.
Oversharers.
And sometimes when you do that, it can go two ways. You have someone that is not too keen on you, and you don't know for sure, and they just feel a certain type of way, and then that brings a certain mindset, and then it doesn't come to life. And the second, when you are thinking I want to as to I am going to, it's two different elements. Your mindset is already there of physically doing it and manifesting and taking the action, and then you can see the end results. But if you constantly do this on a play-by-play and say, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and if it doesn't go through, you look a certain way.
You do indeed.
Yes.
You can't execute.
Yes.
And that's what the book is all about.
Yes.
Do, Move, and Communicate is all about executing.
Yes.
And that's what our company is known for getting things done when we say we're going to get them done, the way we say we're going to get them done. So, yeah, it's absolutely.
Yeah.
The other thing that I talk about in the book is things are created twice in this realm, right? One, they're created in your mind. That's the first place they're created. The next, they're created in the physical realm. So right now, you have your goals, and they're actually created in your mind. So that's the first step to creation. But now you need to manifest them in the physical realm. And you're holding on to them because you're right. You're being prudent, as I would say. Right?
Well, you know what? I have these conversations with the good circle of friends that I have. And one of the things that I get, I guess I'm like the advisor per se, where people come to me and they tell me their problems, or they're looking for advice in regards to the business component of things, which I love to do with my friends. And one of the things that I see a lot in those conversations, I have this going on, and this person that, you always have that one person that loves to know what you're up to, but they also want to kind of get in front of you a little bit, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
So they have those issues, and then I guess because of the information, they're like, because you're enthusiastic and say, hey, I have this, I'm planning to do that. And in conversation, they're listening to it, and then they kind of take one step ahead of you. And then you're kind of staying there. It's like, wait, I was planning to do this, or I was doing that, or these are the things that transpire, and just this is just part of um, the human characteristics. This is how we are. We get very curious, and some people that's how they are with other individuals.
Yes,
So overall, one of
absolutely.
my advice that I give to them is, if you know that you have someone like that, or if you know that you have a group of people like that, then don't disclose what you're doing. Keep that very close to your until you're ready to unveil it, until you know that you succeeded, and you finished that goal that you set out for yourself. Then you can proudly drop the mic and say, hey, I'm doing this, or I have this, and I was working on it, but this is the final product. And
Absolutely.
then that way that person doesn't know all your inside secrets.
Right.
And I'm not saying not to share certain things. It's just there's certain things that you want to accomplish. Those are the things that you keep to yourself, get them done, so that other people can see that what you say is what you mean. So
Absolutely.
that's the advice that I've given in the past.
That's excellent advice.
And I'm an open book. I love helping people out. That I say that all the time. And whenever anybody needs me for anything, I'm there. If I have to teach or train or disclose my secrets, by all means, I do that. And I don't hesitate. I don't have, that where some other people they're like, oh, I'm not going to share my quote unquote secrets. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that when it comes to when you have your own personal goals for yourself, I just feel that you shouldn't disclose it until it's actually done.
Sure.
Which
Did I disclose any of my actual goals?
No.
I don't think I did, right?
No, you said financial. No, I'm not going to disclose that, which is good because
Right.
you already envision what you want, and until that time comes and you accomplish it, then you can unveil it. You can, like I say,
Yeah.
drop the mic and let everybody know.
Well, that's why I talk about what I've done after I've done it,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
wrote the book
Yes.
and walked the 50 miles.
Yes.
The EDs there,
Yes.
right? The past tense,
Yes.
if you will.
Yes. And what I like about all of that is you have a video
Yes.
showing your experience.
Do. Yeah.
And-
It's a website. You can go to it. You can look at it. People love it.
Yeah, and that's a great thing because now people can see it's like you can say one thing, but actually have that documented is something else.
Exactly.
And I think it's also showing that, okay, I'm a little bit older than maybe the next person that's there, but if I can do it, you can do it.
Sure. Yeah,
which is
it's fun.
which is a great thing, especially when it comes to health. I think that people have that mindset that they're very limited with things that they do. And I've
Right.
seen some amazing situations where some people have, physical challenges, if you may, and they overcome it, they're doing it, and then it kind of puts other people to shame per se, because they're going out and doing it. It's all about the mindset.
It is. And, I feel physically my best years are ahead of me, believe it or not. I mean, even having been in the military, because as you spoke, it's not just working out. For me, I've found that it's about 80% what I eat that affects my health.
Yes.
The other thing that I do on a daily basis, sometimes twice, is I do guided meditation. So
yes.
I'm big into meditation. Folks kind of know that about me.
Yes.
When they have an issue, I suggest meditation.
Yes.
But really, it's a practice that I've taken on over the last 7 or 8 years, and I don't miss. Yeah, it's really.
And that was
it's
one of
important to me.
I think that was the last part that you mentioned, spirituality, which is
Yes.
very important. You have to have a balance in that as well.
Yeah.
Especially because spirituality also is the essence of our being and our mental mindset.
Yes.
And meditation, because I meditate, not twice. I used to, and
Sure.
that's one of the other goals is to meditate more, because believe me, when you meditate, you have your inner peace. When you meditate, you feel more zen. I don't you find your happy place.
Yeah.
And no matter what happens throughout the day, it's not going to consume you. You don't feel as stressed out.
Right.
You kind of take it with a grain of salt.
I find that it allows me to be present. It allows me to be present in the moment. Like right now, I'm nowhere else. I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm simply just sitting here talking to you, Michelle. And in the past, prior to meditating, it was difficult to be present. So it allows you to face the good and maybe the challenges in a present way, in a way to be present towards them. And I find that if you're present through anything, you're, at least for me, I'll speak to my experience, I'm able to handle those things better.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So I think overall, people, when they think of the business component of it, being a business owner or an entrepreneur, they tend to just concentrate on that, and they don't realize that there are other components that make up the essence of your life, your day to day. Whether it's engaging with other people, whether it's engaging with the people in your circle, whether if it's just finding yourself, there's just different components there. So health is the number one thing that, like I mentioned before, people tend to not really put much importance in. And that is one of the important factors, because if you're not healthy, how can you run your business? How can you, help other people? How can you put the message across if you're not healthy? If you're not healthy, you can't show by example.
One other thing that you mentioned the visualization of what you want to accomplish. When I left high school, I went away to play sports in college, and we had a sports psychologist come in, and that's the first time I had ever been exposed to any kind of presence or mindfulness or meditation. And it was visualizing what you wanted to happen. And, in all aspects of our life, I find that visualization, it's difficult for me to say. I find that visualization, finding out what I want to happen and then thinking about that, gives me a better chance of actually having it come to be or manifest.
And that is 100% true. The moment that you envision something and you put it out there,
good or bad.
Oh, good or bad. See, the thing is that we, overall as humans, we tend to think more of the negative component of things, which
Absolutely.
It manifests itself as to thinking of the positive things, because we restrict ourselves from finding our own happiness. It's like we block ourselves in that in that aspect. Totally. And I think that if you just let it be more freeing, it will flow, and all of that positive will manifest itself.
Yeah. One of the fun things that we did this summer was for Fab Beyond 50, we interviewed a centenarian. We interviewed a gentleman who was over 100 years old.
Oh, wow. God
and
bless.
One of the things that we posted was lessons from someone twice my age. So John Frenny turned 104 on Wednesday. And we posted the first segment of the interview on the Facebook page for Fab Beyond 50. The thing that John said that was most important that got him to 104 was positivity. And I really just appreciated talking to that gentleman for the hour that we did back in September, because you could tell that he was positive. You could tell that he utilized his visualizing capability to envision the positive outcome. And he's still doing it. He's 104 years old. I'm 50. He's double plus
Mm-hmm.
my age, and he is just a ball of positive energy. And it's because he visualizes. He was always an artist. He's drawn, I think his daughter told me, and he told me, 60 drawings that he gave away for the holidays. So those are the things, those are the people that I want to surround myself with, because they just give me a positive charge that allows me to understand that everything is not about money, and everything is not about business. And if you saw me Monday through Saturday, you wouldn't know that that was the case. However, those sort of interviews allow me to take that pause and be present, be human, and know, as you've said to our viewers, that there's more to life than just work, right?
Exactly. I think that positivity is one factor. Being surrounded by like-minded people is very, very important. The reason being, you get inspired by that. When you're around people that are negative, or they're chronic complainers, or they're not as ambitious, and I'm not saying anything toward ill will or anything like that, or negative per se towards those individuals. I just feel that the energy is different. The flow of energy is different. When you're around like-minded people that are very, very positive, the energy that flows within the group, the room, is so different. You become inspired by that other person, and you want to do more. And it doesn't necessarily have to be on the business component of things. It's more about the purpose, finding the purpose of helping other people. I think that's more where the flow comes in. And
some would say that's the sole purpose that we're put on the planet for. And once we realize that helping other people is the sole reason that we're put on the planet, everything else seems to flow.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely, 100%. We all have our purpose. We all have our talents and gifts. It's just utilizing it the right way.
Absolutely. Yeah. Are you going to use it for good, or are you going to use it for evil?
For evil.
Yeah.
And until you know what your purpose is and what your mission is around the people that you're trying to help out, you don't know what the full fulfillment is on that.
Right.
The other thing that I've always mentioned as well, success for some, or I would say like majority of the people, when they envision success, they're thinking about the money component. Absolutely. And success is more of having the recognition, being acknowledged by other people of what you're serving and what you're doing. That to me is the total success.
May I add something to that? So for me, it's the money, it's the recognition, but it's also the freedom. So the freedom to do other things and to have other experiences, and the freedom to be present where I am at a given time.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the other things that I'm just going to chime in on this.
Sure.
One of the things that, as an entrepreneur, is very important is to allow yourself to go through the journey, not be in a rush to try to get to that point, because things won't fall into place the way you want. You just have to allow the journey to go the way it's supposed to, good or bad, because you're going to have your moments.
Sure.
But you just have to leave the journey and just follow it, allow it to be, and enjoy it. And believe me, I'm the first one to say that I've had my moments, but it also taught me a few things.
Sure.
It gave me experiences, and now I know that certain circumstances ever happen in the future. Now I know not to replicate the same thing. But Absolutely. It's all about learning and allowing, enjoying the journey that you're in.
Well, that's a smart person that learns from their mistakes. And I've heard someone say that a wise person learns from others' mistakes, right? So, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. So, Joe, we're heading towards the end of the show, and it's been a great conversation.
Wonderful conversation.
I love this, and I want you to come back and have more discussions.
Thank you.
But for our listeners and viewers out there, where can they find you?
So you can find me at joehoman.com. That's JOEHOMAN.com. You can also find me at joehomanpersonal.com, edspireinc.com. All the Twitter handles there, or the one that we talked about a lot, Fab Beyond 50. That's fabbeyond50.com. So they can find me all over there, and it's thank you. This was wonderful.
Yes.
And I learned a lot of things from you too, and I think we share things in common as to our approach.
Yes.
And I appreciate you doing it in Philadelphia on the day that the Eagles are in the playoffs. And I appreciate it because we got the green seats, we got Rocky up here.
Yes,
And
I had to represent Philadelphia. And for those of you out there, you know that I'm not much of I don't follow sports as much, but like I mentioned before, Willie is big on sports. He follows baseball and football, so I hear it a lot. Yeah. But it happens to be that I was talking to a client of mine, I think it was yesterday, and I told her I can't see you because I'm Saturday because I'm filming. I'm going to be filming in Philadelphia, and she said, "Oh, okay, that's cool." And then I said, "I can do this on Sunday." She's like, "No, I'm going to be watching the game." She follows the football, and she's a big Eagles fan.
Me too.
So,
I'm a huge Eagles
fan. So I said, "Yeah, I heard about the game," and so I heard it from everyone. So I'm kind of here like this, like that, and she started giggling, and she said, "Well, if you ever want to know more about football, let me know, and I can teach you a little bit." So
that's great.
We'll see about that. Don't hold me to it.
All right.
But I definitely do come often to Philadelphia. I love coming to Philadelphia and just doing interviews here. There's so many great people, a lot of successful people in Philadelphia overall, various industries. So that's why I love coming here.
That's wonderful.
And guys, if you want to check out the Work Your Money podcast, you can go to multiple platforms. You can go to YouTube and Instagram. It'll be Work Your Money or Work Your Money podcast. If it's Twitter, it's Work Your Money P1.
Correct.
If it's YouTube, it's Work Your Money podcast. If you want to check it out on our website, it's workyourmoney.net. And we're also do live shows normally from B-Box Radio Saturdays as well. So check it out whenever I'm at the radio station. And also I have this show broadcasted from Universe Network TV channel 45. So also check that out. And proud to announce that the show is now going 5 days a week. So it's Monday to Friday at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So guys, you have all of my now social media and outlets of where to connect with me. Until the next time, this is a Work Your Money podcast. Bye.
Bye.